Nearly half of adult women admit to drinking and consuming alcohol over the last 30 days. Approximately 13% of adult women readily admit to binge drinking. Furthermore, another 25% admit to doing it at least weekly, and that same 25% consume at least 6 drinks during their binge drinking sessions. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, Molly Desch is a women's sobriety coach who emphasizes the readiness of sobriety and works with her clients to build the most impactful toolbox in order to ensure success and victory in their battle against sobriety. She's got her own authentic and raw story to share with you about her own battle with her own sobriety and why her current work is so critically important to her and why she remains so invested in helping her clients get a second chance at sobriety. Molly's story is one of transcendent importance. So, without further delay, I am thrilled to engage in conversation with her. I'm Kevin McShann. Let's have this conversation. Absolutely. So, Molly, if you're ready, I'll take a moment to welcome you to the program, and I'm super excited to talk to you all about the work you do in women's sobriety. Great to see you this morning, and thank you so very much for being here.
Yes, absolutely. I appreciate you reaching out and asking me to come on your show.
Absolutely. Now, Molly, I know part of the incredible work that you do is helping women with their journey towards sobriety. So I'm wondering if you can tell me all about the good work that you do and the personal ties to it as well.
Absolutely. So I had my own journey with alcohol for the majority of my adult life, raising 2 boys, and I was married, and alcohol just really took over my whole life. It became a daily thing. And, I never really thought about, hey, maybe you should slow down or maybe you should quit. I just felt like it was a normal thing to do. Everybody I knew, had normalized drinking so much, after work, the happy hours. If you wanted to go to like anybody's house for a barbecue, there was lots of drinking. It just felt like so normal to me, And it wasn't until I had moved into this house where my neighbor across the street, she was not a drinker at all. And I thought to myself, I wonder what that's like. I wonder what that's like, just being clear-headed or being totally present for your kids. So that was like the first time that I even really considered taking a look at my drinking. And fast forward a few years later, I had got divorced, and it was really hard. Being a single mom of 2 boys and, trying to make the mortgage payment and all that good stuff. And the drinking actually got worse. So I had like this new freedom, if you will, the husband wasn't here, so I felt like I was spending even more time drinking and just focusing on that in general. And I got kind of pigeonholed into my own depression and, poor me, and life is never going to get better. So I just had this epiphany, I had a suicidal thought. I didn't want to live anymore. And that's when I realized, okay, I got to make a change here. So I actually called my mom. She lives out of state, and very vulnerable and saying, look, I've got a problem. I need some help. So she flew out and stayed with me for a couple weeks during my early sobriety. And, fast forward a few years later, I've been in the tech industry my whole life, and I didn't feel like it was really fulfilling. Having removed alcohol from my life helped me see things differently. It helped me learn who I am, start asking some of those hard questions like, what do you want out of life? What do you like to do? What do you want to do with yourself? I didn't feel fulfilled. And to be honest with you, Kevin, I don't know how it came about. I was looking into this program to be a guided meditation teacher. And so I was looking at this online, and it was like $20,000 to be this like guided meditation teacher. And I was like really interested in it, but I was like, gosh, that's a lot of money, And out of the blue, I guess, I don't know if it was because I was on this website and, the ads and stuff that pop up, all the cookies they're collecting. So I found coaching, and I didn't really know what it was. I had heard of it, but I guess I didn't really quite understand completely what coaching was. And one of my friends, she was starting her own business as a business coach. And so I kind of talked to her about, what is it? What do you do exactly? And it got me really interested in it. And I thought, I kind of got this download from the universe, like, shit, why don't you help women that have a problem with drinking? Like, why can't you do that? And that's kind of where I started my journey. And I've been helping women get sober through my program. And it's the most fulfilling, rewarding, coolest experience I've ever had the opportunity to be a part of in my life. And I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And Molly, I'm curious to ask you about how much you believe making authentic human connection with these women is in the work that you do, and how much of yourself do you see in your clients?
Oh, that's a great question. My clients, they find me, and it's been through conversations like you and I are having now, where we're just talking about like what kind of person I am. And every single one of my clients has been like, yes, I resounded with what you said on that podcast or what you said in that article. Making that connection is the most important part of the work that I do with them. It's meeting them where they're at in their journey, whether it's they're contemplating, whether they're so deep into it that they just can't even see a glimpse of the light at the end of the tunnel. So I do see myself a lot in these women. I am a big believer in the universe is bringing me my ideal clients, and every single one of them I see a little bit of myself in. So it makes it easier to relate to them, and it also pushes me to be a better coach for them, to show up, to have very meaningful conversations with them, and make sure that what we're going to be working on for the upcoming week makes sense to them and is going to be the most beneficial for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And Molly, you and I both know that getting over any addiction, there are some stumbling blocks along the way. So I'm curious to ask you how you help women sort of persevere when they fall and get over those stumbling blocks. Because I know in a lot of cases it's not always easy, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of stumbling blocks when you're working on getting sober. So, in before you get sober, obviously, you turn to alcohol to essentially fix your problems, right? So you had a crappy day at work. What do? You come home and drink a bottle of wine. You and your husband had an argument. What do? You drink a bottle of wine. I mean, it just like, it seems to be the answer to all the problems when, everybody knows that it doesn't solve any problems. It just kind of numbs it, right? So after you get sober, you're facing these same problems head on without that crutch, without that outlet to numb the emotions. So it's really hard, and we work on together, me and my girls, we work on, what does that look like? How can you, in a healthy way, overcome what you're feeling right now? How, in a healthy way, can we make sure that you don't crave the drink when you've had a crappy day, or you have had an argument, or somebody at work did something ridiculous, or nobody shows up to work, or, all of these day-to-day things that we're dealing with already. But now you just don't have the alcohol to fall back on.
Yeah, absolutely. And to that point, Molly, I'm curious to get your definition of what it means to really maximize your potential and the idea of women's empowerment and how important it is to empower the women that you work with to really take control of their own journey.
Yeah, great question. So empowerment is a big part of what we work on. And to a lot of people, it doesn't really mean anything. But when you're overcoming such a huge obstacle or a huge addiction like drinking, um, you can lose focus on the accomplishments that you've already had in your life, right? So I feel like it's really important to kind of look in the past and say, okay, look, these are all the things that I've already overcome as an individual throughout my entire life. So that shows them, all right, I've already been able to do this X, Y, and Z. So I can do this now. And every woman is born with this innate power to take control of their lives, to figure out who they are and, form a spiritual connection, to find new habits and interests, to really rediscover who they are on their own. I'm just guiding them along the way. They are all finding these answers themselves, which is really incredible, because a lot of the girls come to me, not knowing who they are. Like every single one of them, I've lost who I am. I don't know who I am. My sense of self has disappeared, however you want to phrase it. So taking them along that journey of rediscovering who they are. And I mean, Kevin, you can create your own life all over again every single day that you wake up, right? So you can say, okay, today I want to be a podcast producer. Or tomorrow you want to wake up and be like, I want to be a writer. So, I mean, every day is a new opportunity to rediscover who you are and building upon what you've learned from the day before.
Yeah, Molly, I always say that every day is a great day to make a difference, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It is.
And Molly, I'm curious to ask you, for you personally, What do you define as your sort of aha moment or turning point in your own journey? Was it when your mom came out and helped you during those 2 weeks? So what would be your turning point in your own sort of battle with sobriety?
Well, interestingly enough, Kevin, when my mom came out, I did get sober, but I didn't do any of the hard work that was needed to maintain my sobriety. So, for example, the very first year I got sober, so I was sober for over 365 days, did the whole year thing, felt like, I had everything under control. And during that second year, um, I had some bouts where I was drinking. So there were three separate occasions that the emotions overcame me. There were external situations or circumstances that I felt like were out of my control, and I turned back to drinking. And that's really what my turning point was. It wasn't before I chose to get sober, it was after I chose to get sober, was my aha moment. Like, okay, you need to do some real work on yourself. You need to have these hard conversations with yourself and really dig into who you are. What is triggering these emotions? How can you control them better? What sort of strategies make sense to you? Like, what do you love? So for me, meditation is one of my go-to strategies for controlling my emotions. If I get a little too angry, something like recently, my son's car has broken down. Like, I can't even tell you how many times. Like, I have just put so much money into this car, right? So I'm getting really frustrated and I'm just wanting to like throw this car in the junkyard. So I'm like feeling these emotions and I'm feeling like really frustrated and angry. And meditation's my go-to. I go in my room and I turn on some meditation music and I lay there for 20, 30 minutes. And when I'm done, I'm like a completely different person. And everybody is different. Some people don't really do well with meditation. So that's exactly what I work with my girls is what works for them. We explore all these different options and what feels good to them, what feels right and moves them forward. That's what we stick to, and that's their plan. So everybody's journey is different.
Yeah, absolutely. And Molly, I always say that everyone's portrait of success is different, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, somebody's success could be, getting sober and healing the relationship with their loved ones, or somebody else's success could be, I'm not really doing so hot at work. Like, I'm showing up to work hungover every day and I'm not, nailing my meetings or my presentations. So, making sure that I get sober and fix that. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Everybody's definition of success is different. The personal fulfillment, I feel, is like that's my definition of success. I don't have to be a millionaire, just feeling deep down inside that I'm helping women overcome this terrible, terrible addiction is that's my success.
Yeah, and Molly, one of the first things that you have to do when you battle sobriety, of course, is admit that there is a problem there and you have to solve it. So, how important is it for women to recognize that there is a problem there and make the decision that they want to do something about it?
That's a really interesting question because, like I mentioned a little bit ago, I didn't have that recognition for a really long time. Um, I'm going to get on my soapbox here a little bit, but I feel like society really portrays alcohol as if you're not drinking, you're not having fun, you're not with the fun crowd. All the moms are drinking wine, they're having play dates together with wine. I mean, it's it's everywhere you turn, right? So for me, I didn't have that um, comparison, if you will. There was, like I said, there was the lady across the street, and that's what sparked my very first. I wouldn't say it was an aha moment. It was more of like planting a seed of, all right, you might want to consider that you're drinking too much. So to go back to your question, how important is it for these women to have that moment? It's night or day. It's either they keep drinking or they don't. Um, and you can't tell somebody that they have a problem or that they need to quit. It has to be totally up to them. It has to be, your decision, and you have to be committed to it. There's this interesting tension that gets created when there's something that you want out of life, but you don't currently have, So, for example, I want a hot tub. This is just hypothetical. I want a hot tub on my deck. Well, I don't have a hot tub on my deck. So it's like kind of created this little tension that between what I don't have and what I want. So when you decide I want to get sober or I need to quit drinking or whatever that looks like to you, you've automatically created this tension in your life that you have to go solve for, right? And sometimes thinking back on your successes, so your accomplishments that you've already been able to add to your wall of accomplishments, your successes, is going to be really important. So you have that confidence. Look, I've done these things already, so I can do this. But yeah, I mean, it's an innate realization that you have to come to yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know for you specifically, Molly, journaling and developing good daily habits was a big part of your journey. So tell me about developing good daily habits and the power of journaling and really getting your emotions on paper.
Yeah, I actually love journaling. I've started this new habit um, probably like 2 or 3 months ago. I started it. It's called the morning pages. So every morning, I have my routine. I get up and I make some coffee and I let the dog out, and then I immediately go to my room and I write my morning pages. And so it's essentially 3 pages. You just write whatever you want, whatever comes to your mind. If you don't know what to write, you can write, I don't know what to write. But most of the time, I definitely have something to talk about. Usually my upcoming day. If there's a problem that is related to my business and I don't know how to solve, I start writing about it. And I kid you not, Kevin, almost every single time that I'm writing about an issue or a situation that I don't know how to overcome, the answer comes out on my pages in the morning. So it's pretty incredible. After I get done with my morning pages, I meditate for, I don't know. I mean, it really depends on what time I wake up. If I'm crunched for time, I shoot for 10 minutes. If I've got lots of time, 15, 20 minutes. And then, so that's my morning routine. And I feel like it's extremely important. If I don't do that, I could be a super grump. Like if I'm running late and I don't get to meditate, like it's curtains. It's not good for me.
Well, it's always good to stay committed to your daily habits and have a routine, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It really is. And when you don't get to do it, you just kind of feel like the whole world falls apart.
Absolutely. Now, Molly, I know that there's no magic formula or potion when we talk about overcoming sobriety, but for any women who may be watching or listening to this, I'm curious if you can give them sort of words of inspiration or encouragement if they're going through a similar battle with their own sobriety? What would you tell them in terms of getting over that adversity in their life?
Yeah. I feel like any woman that knows that they need to reevaluate their relationship to alcohol, can you can feel like you're kind of standing on an island. You're out there all by yourself, and it's foggy out. You don't know where you're going. You just need a light to guide you. And there's a lot of people that have the experience of sobriety that are willing to guide you. Um, there's a ton of resources that are available. There's a lot of books. There's a lot of podcasts. There's sober coaches out there. There's a lot of free online programs. I mean, we have AA if that's something that you're interested in checking out. There's so many resources out there. Like, don't feel like you have to go it alone. There's a huge community of sober people. And the problem with not knowing where to find them is related to, it goes back to society pushing alcohol on you. So it's kind of like trying to find support groups. It's hard. But like I said, you feel alone, but you are not alone. I would encourage you to get online and start finding some support groups. Maybe read a couple books about others' experiences. I have a recommended reading on my blog if anybody's interested. Some of the books that have actually impacted and changed my life and the way I see things. I would start there. Start if you're interested in finding like a sober coach. Make sure that you resound with that person. Make sure that what they're saying sounds like you. You want somebody that shares the same beliefs and ideas as you, is willing to push you, is willing to hold you accountable, as well as introduce you to a part of yourself that you feel like you lost. I feel like that's the biggest key, is finding yourself. So don't feel like you're alone. Don't feel like there's no hope. Go back and make a list of every single accomplishment you've ever had in your life, from grade school all the way to now, and take a look at that list and just remember, like, you did that all by yourself, so you can do this too.
Yeah, absolutely. And well, you've brought up a couple of times a societal pressure in connection to alcohol. So I'm curious to get your thoughts on how you navigate the society pressure, or what's going on in your personal life versus your connection or wanting to drink. How do you navigate societal pressures successfully when you're in a battle against sobriety?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really tough question. It actually looks different to everybody. There's a guy that I was talking to last week, and he's a very confident type person. So he could walk into a situation and just be like, if it's a gathering of friends and they're all drinking, like, he's super confident and just, I don't drink that BS or whatever. And then you have people that are just a little less confident in themselves. So I would encourage you to get curious about what would work for you. So let's say, for example, all your coworkers are going out to happy hour after work. Give yourself permission to decline it. I mean, you don't have to go. I would always ask myself, what am I missing out on by not going? And the answer was always nothing. I see those people at work every day already. If I was really trying to spend time with a coworker or somebody on my team, I could always take them out to lunch. It didn't have to be happy hour. Um, Also, with the holidays coming up, I don't know what your family does for the holidays, but my family likes to drink on the holidays. So the very first Christmas with my family was really awkward because nobody really knew what was going on. Like, are we not allowed to drink? Should we drink? Like, it was kind of awkward. So making sure that you're being open and communicative about it. If it's not something you want to be around, give yourself permission to not show up. I mean, we all cancel Christmas during COVID? And nothing tragic happened, I don't believe. So if it's just one Christmas or Thanksgiving or whatever holiday is coming up for you, give yourself permission to bow out for a little bit until you feel stronger in your sobriety. But if you're a super confident person and you just really don't care what anybody thinks, make sure that you are voicing your commitment to your sobriety. Like, I want to be healthier, or things that I've said to people before are like, you don't want to see me drinking. It's not a good show when I have a drink. You can get creative. You can just be completely honest. You can not show up. It's really up to you. And at the end of the day, just remember, like, what are you actually missing out on? That's the question.
Yeah, absolutely. And while I'm going to share with you just a little bit about myself personally and why I wanted to start this podcast. So I was born with what's called spastic quadriplegia cerebral palsy. Simply means that I don't have enough oxygen in my legs to walk normally, and sometimes it's hard for me to leave the house and build sort of a community of social capital. So one of the reasons I wanted to do this was to build my community of social and community capital. So when we relate that to alcoholism, how important is it, in your opinion, to build a community of support?
It's vital. It's vital in the beginning for sure. And you don't want to force, nobody wants to force a relationship or a friendship. So you can find people. I found online this tool called Meetup. So there's you can find your sorry, words are hard right now.
No,
you can find a special you can find a special interest group. But you don't necessarily have to find sober people, just people that get you and that will be supportive of you. When I first got sober, I latched onto a couple girls that I met at AA, just for the simple fact that they too were getting sober. And I felt like it was a forced relationship. We didn't really have a whole lot in common, and so it kind of just fell to the wayside. The more I have found, the more vocal you are about your choice to be sober, to be alcohol free, people will kind of respond to that and be like, I really don't feel like drinking either. And so you don't have to lose all of your friends. If they're your real friends, they'll be supportive of you no matter what. But as I alluded to before, there's Meetup, so you can type in sober, or if you have a special interest like hiking or meditation or yoga or whatever, you can find people that are like-minded. I feel like that's what you're really looking for, are people that have the same interests as you, and then just grow the relationships organically.
Yeah, absolutely. And Molly, my final question for you has to do with personal fulfillment and your own personal and professional legacy, and how you define both personal fulfillment and how you want your legacy to be defined?
Man, that's such a good question. I purposely didn't think about this when you said it to me before because I wanted it to be authentic. Um, my my personal fulfillment right now in my life, because it'll change as I evolve, right now is the women that I'm working with, just having friendships, watching them grow, watching them try new things, and seeing them be happy. It makes me happy. My kids are also a huge part of my fulfillment. Being a role model to them and showing them that you can do anything that you want to do. I wanted to be a sober life coach, and here I am, and I'm making it happen every day, and I feel like that's a good role model for them. I want my legacy to be more about how I made people feel, not about any money that I made or lives that I changed. I just want people to, when they think about me, to feel good inside. Like Molly was a good person. She gave me of her time and her attention, and she really cared about me. Like that's what I want.
Yeah, absolutely. And Molly, finally, tell me if people want to get connected with you, what's the best way they can do that?
Oh, sure. You can go to my website. It's As You Are Life Coaching. Or you can send me an email at molly@asyouarelifecoaching.com. You can check out my blog. I've got a lot of good resources for anybody that's interested in what it looks like to get sober.
Well, fabulous, Molly. I want to really thank you for your time, energy, and efforts on my behalf, and your commitment to helping women get on the other side of sobriety. Your work in the space and time on my behalf is most appreciated, and I want to thank you for engaging in conversation with me this morning.
Thank you, Kevin. I appreciate it so much.